couple little breakout rooms. They're going to be little up close and personal breakout rooms. But I think it'll go, I think it'll be fine. So I'm going to share my screen real quickly. Well, before I share my screen, talk to me. I mean, I know that you didn't reflect, hours and hours and hours on the content that I shared last time. But talk to me about what were some of the things that I talked about. We talked about the barriers. We talked about the barriers that parents say and kind of our perception of some of those barriers and the need to flip that lens and try to see it from the parent perspective. We kind of brainstormed some possible ways to maybe alleviate the barrier or at least get that barrier leaning down somewhat. There's some barriers that we may not be able to completely alleviate. And then we talked about the core beliefs. And so just talk to me for just a minute, or if you want to put it in the chat, you can. But again, we're a small group, so you can certainly unmute yourself. Let's talk just a little bit about if you guys thought about some of the barriers that you recognized in your program or with your families, and did you come up with something? Did you go back and talk to anybody else about maybe ways that you could address some of those barriers? And then did you think any more about those core beliefs? So let's go ahead and share your thoughts.
Well, one thing that I remember that I am using this week is I did send out like a positive note of encouragement to a couple of the participants. So just remembering that that positive reinforcement can help engage families so that it's not always you're behind on the attendance. So that was something that, that I was doing.
Good. That's right. Because when we only contact parents when, we need something or their child isn't doing what we wish they would be doing, that tends to cause them to not really want to come and participate in anything. And so did you do a certain number? Did you kind of spread it out, or how did you decide?
Yeah, so for right now, I think I'm going to do like 3 every week.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of, I did like the first 3 in the alphabetical order.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. I'm proud of you for doing that. And just, have you heard back from any of the parents?
Well, so one did respond, and they said thank you, and they like because you can like do like a little like a little emoji, so it was like the little heart emoji. And so I don't know, I think like she felt that it was genuine, and it was, and that she feels encouraged. So
good. And then how did it make you feel? Because I think that's equally important.
For me, I mean, I feel like it's a good way to continue to engage with my families, and I want to always continue to build that trust, and for them to know that I'm also here to support them in their journey here, because it's a little bit different. We're doing home visiting with ESL classes and other things, but just knowing that we're here to support them. So I feel like that it's a good feeling.
Good. And remember, I suggested that, you're not going to be able to send one every day to every child. And so make it manageable. And Amanda did 3 this week, and she can do 3 next week. And then when you feel really brave and courageous, you can try, and you're in that habit, then you can try to do 3, every other day or whatever. But even though they're not getting a happy note or a positive note every single day, they're getting a lot more positive notes than they were getting before you really started concentrating on it. And so I'm really proud of you for doing that. That's really exciting. It'll be interesting to see too, if you feel like a month or so from now, if you feel like your relationship with your families is a little better or a little deeper. I don't mean better, but a little deeper. And if you see a shift in their engagement in things. So it'll just kind of be fun to watch and see if just sending those positive notes helps that. So what about some of the rest of you all? What did you ponder on or in the week since we met last?
Well, I don't know if this will encourage conversation, but Amanda, if you'll drop a private message to me in the chat with your address, I'm going to mail you a Ready Rosie t-shirt for your contribution today.
Yay.
And the size of shirt that you need. So
yay.
that, and then if you guys all participate, then we'll see who else all gets t-shirts today.
Okay. All right. All right. Because these sessions, it's not as much about me imparting knowledge or content to you guys as much as you guys, hearing it, but then actually trying it and making it your own, because it's all about trying to improve our relationship with our families and then ultimately the children that we serve. So did anybody think any more about the core beliefs? Remember, it was every family has aspirations for their child. Every family, every parent has the capacity to support their child. It should be a 50-50 equal partnership. And I think we kind of decided that mutual was a better word than equal or 50-50. And then the responsibility of that partnership falls on the school. Did anybody think about those anymore? All right. Well, that's okay. That's all right. But I do want to encourage you guys to, to speak out. Did anybody think any more about the barriers, the specific barriers? Did anybody go back and talk to a coworker or, a director and say, I really think this might be a barrier to why some of our parents are participating, and how can we address that barrier? How can we think about that barrier? Anybody think about the possible barriers? Y'all are like, no, we're just trying to survive every day. And I get that, but anybody for a split second think about any of the barriers that your families might be facing when you're inviting them?
So I noticed that some of my parents are really bad with technology. And then when you send the link, they have a hard time to connect with the link. So I see it as a barrier for the technology part.
Okay.
And then what I'm trying to do is like send the link right before my visit so I can help them to connect. But some of them is just like, it takes time for them to understand how it works and everything. And then I can just say, just bear with me. It'll get better. So yeah, that's the barrier. I think it happens most of the times with my
technology.
Yeah,
I would agree. And I think, hoping or showing them how to do it or sitting there right next to them on your visits is really, really important. I think if you aren't doing home visits and you have them coming to the class for parent teacher conference or whatever, have your phone right there or a tablet or whatever, so you can walk them through how to accept that invitation, because it really is very, very simple for them to do. But if they're anxious about technology, then it doesn't matter how easy it is, it's going to be difficult for them. So good. All right. Well, this afternoon we're going to talk a little bit. Let me share my screen here. Oops. Okay. So I want to come down here. And so did we get to the point where we talked about the building blocks? Yes, no, maybe so.
Now that like our internet went out, and I feel like we were kind of right at this point when when our internet went out.
Okay. All right. Because this was where I had in my mind that we had kind of gotten to. So we talked about those core beliefs. And again, you have to accept those if you want to have a true partnership with your families. You can't say, well, I accept 3, but not the 4th one. You really do have to embrace all 4 of those core beliefs. And again, remember, we didn't say that the responsibility of building that partnership between school and home means that you have to do every single bit of it. But it does mean, we had talked about the role of the caregiver and how modeling is so important. And we did talk about that if I came from a family where my parents were not involved in my education, then how do I know? How do I know that I'm supposed to be involved in my, in my child's education? Or if I come from a culture where it is really not, kind of disrespectful to go and talk to the teacher and do things with the teacher or be engaged like that. And so it is up to us to let them know about the ways of the American school system and how we really do want to be a partner with them in their child's journey. So it doesn't mean we're doing all the work, but it does mean that we are initiating that and letting them know about that. So once you have accepted those, whoops, let me do my screen. Let me do my, sorry, let's do this here. No, that's not what I want. Sorry. It has been one of those days. Let me go here. Sorry. Bear with me. Okay. Current slide is what I want. But I want to there. Now, can you just see the slide and not my notes? Perfect. Yay. Okay. So after those core beliefs, then it really is important to think about those building blocks that also support every single one of your family engagements. And remember, when we are talking about family engagement, that's not just a family workshop that you do. That is anytime you are asking the parents to do anything. Even if you're sending home a, remember I live in crazy Texas, and so it may just be us, but every season, every holiday, kindergarten in particular, and now I think it's dipped down to pre-K, and I know my granddaughter who's 2, her class does it now. But they all send home like a turkey, and it's a fun family activity to decorate the turkey and send it back to school. All right, I don't know if you guys do that or not. My issue is with it is that the parents end up doing it and the child really doesn't do very much of it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But we're talking about that kind of family engagement all the way to them coming to a parent-teacher conference or coming to a workshop. Anytime we are interacting with the family, that is what we mean by family engagement. And that's one thing that we need to make sure that parents understand, that they are supporting, they are engaging with their child if they just get their child to school. Because a lot of parents have the message, get the message that they are not engaged if they're not coming physically up to the building. And that is not the case. If they are returning paperwork on time, they are engaged. And so we need to really broaden that view of of how we see family engagement. So parents need to see that, yes, they can come to meetings. Yes, they can come to programs. Yes, they can come to parent-teacher conferences. But we also acknowledge and value that they are bringing their child to school every day, that they are sending their child with what they need. That's also a way of family engagement. So think about family engagement in a broader sense. So one of the very first building block is built upon relationships. And you guys know that pretty much everything in life is built upon relationships, friendships, everything is built around relationships. And the same is true of your families. It doesn't mean that you are BFFs with them. It doesn't mean that you go to the movies on the weekends with them. It just means that you know about them. You know about their children. You know about their culture. You know about the whole child that you are working with. You know their likes and dislikes. You know their social and emotional needs and weaknesses and strengths, in addition to the academics. You know really a little bit about each of the families. And you don't know those things about the families unless you talk to the families. And so I said last time the families that you don't, we started with, you thought of your favorite family and what were those characteristics that that family had. And I told you that my guess was that probably you had a good relationship with that family. And the families who aren't engaged, you don't have a relationship with through no fault of anyone. But my challenge to you this week is to think about those families that are not engaged, that are not engaging with you or with the school to support their child. And really, do some soul searching and think, do I have a relationship with them? And it's not an indictment. So if you say, no, I don't, then, we're not going to judge. But like, I can think of families who were not engaged with their child. And when I stepped back, I could honestly say, I don't have a relationship with that family. Either they were dropping their child off, right at the last minute and picking them up right at the minute, and they were, scooting out the door. Maybe they never showed up for a parent-teacher conference. Maybe they never responded to anything. And so I didn't have the opportunity to build a relationship with them because they weren't even, they weren't coming, they weren't participating in anything. So I want you to think about, do you have a relationship with those families that are not participating like you would like them to be? The other thing that that has to be in place for your families to have, for a 50-50 partnership and to have true family engagement, is they have to be interactive. Not the whole thing, if you have an open house, the whole thing doesn't have to be a dog and pony show. But just like you guys don't like to just sit and be lectured to, neither do our families. In fact, they like the same things that you like. So it has to be interactive. And that interactiveness can just be turn and talk to the parent next to you. Talk with the other parents at your, that are sitting at the same table as you. Put scrap paper on the table and say, sketch just do a quick stick figure picture of what your child does that makes him happy. Whatever, just something where it is interactive. It has to be collaborative. We talked about how it really does have to be collaborative. And I think this is probably one of the hardest things for teachers to truly step outside of ourselves and think, is it collaborative? And by that, it means the parent has input into the family engagement. Shauna and Amy did a survey at the end of the year last year and said, what topics would you like to learn about with Ready Rosie? What do you want to know about Ready Rosie? How can we support you? We didn't just say, here's the year of all the training for Ready Rosie, whether you need it or not. This is what Shauna and I have decided you need. No, we did a survey. We gathered information and then tried to do some trainings based on the input that we got from you guys. Now, most of you all probably didn't even think about it, but if truth be told, you probably appreciated. You probably didn't appreciate getting the survey because you're like, oh my gosh, I have to do this survey. But you probably appreciated Shauna saying, what is it that you need to know about Ready Rosie? And us just not saying, this is what you need. Parents are the same way. Parents are the same way. So how can you make everything you do be collaborative? It also doesn't have to be every single parent collaborating. Do any of you all have a parent-to-parent network or a parent task force? Okay, I see Amanda shaking her head. What about the rest of y'all? Some of y'all may be thinking, oh, what?
What is that?
Okay. My guess is you don't have one, but anyway, that is like, or maybe you call it a parent advisory pet council, but it's a group of parents who actually help you plan what you're doing at your site. So they actually are part of the planning team for the things that you are offering. That's what a parent advisory, or parent task group or whatever. That's their purpose, is to help you plan. So they're bringing that parent perspective in, so that if you are, planning, a fall festival, and you all are thinking, okay, let's do this from 5 to 7. It starts right after school, and then we're out of there by 7. You're thinking of it in terms of what's going to work for you. If you have a parent advisory committee and they are helping you to plan that, there may be a parent or several parents that say, no, 5's too early. We're not even home from work yet. It needs to start at 6. But you don't have that information if you don't have parents giving their input in the planning time. Along with that is a parent to parent network. It can be one and the same. And so, we're planning something, and Amanda doesn't have a car. She doesn't have transportation. I know she doesn't have transportation, but that parent advisory group, they know the families. They know Amanda doesn't have transportation. And so they know who lives by her, who can swing by and scoop her up and bring her, so that transportation is no longer a barrier. So they help with the planning, and they help in alleviating some of those barriers. So does no one have that on your sites, or to your knowledge?
Educare Lincoln has a parent forum. We were a little slow getting it started this year, but they had their first Zoom meeting at 6 o'clock this last Monday. They sat down and they talked about our usual events that we do.
Mm-hmm.
We made them virtual last year because of COVID, and they talked about ways to kind of integrate having people in the building, but in a safer manner. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they had a lot of ideas, and even parents that didn't want to be in the main group were given a form to fill out so they could put their ideas down so it could be heard.
Excellent. Good. And you might send that form just as a template to Shauna, so that if it's not y'all's intellectual property or whatever, so that other centers that want to kind of pursue that or think about that or whatever, because number one, we don't all need to reinvent the wheel. And so again, part of the collaboration of us is helping each other and sharing ideas and things like that. So that's great, Lois. Then the next thing is, it has to be developmental. And again, that is going to depend upon the relationship. And so one of the things that Shauna and I talked about doing this year with you guys, all of you all participating, is that this isn't everybody's first year to do Ready Rosie. So everybody doesn't need the basic overview of Ready Rosie on how to create a classroom, how to send out a playlist, how to comment, how to look at your data. Some of you all have been part of this, this foundation, this grant for like 3 or 4 years. And so we have to look at doing like a tiered level of different webinars and meetings, a deeper dive, or asking you guys, okay, you've got the basics down. Now, how do you want to go deeper? And that was one of the reasons why these little 3-part series came about, was because many of you all were ready to go a little bit deeper in the broader sense. And so you've got to look at your parents that way too. And so how can you, on open house or meet the teacher, if you have families who this is their second child in your program, why do they need to come? We want them to still come because we want them to be engaged. And so you've got to think about, how are we going to meet their needs, just like we're going to meet that first time parent, kind of like we do with our kids. If you have a child who comes in reading, hopefully you don't say, well, sorry, we're learning our letters. And that's what you got to do. You're going to have to learn those. You're going to have to sit through learning those letters. No, you differentiate for that particular child. And so we have to do that same thing with our families. So it's that all of our engagement pieces are developmental as well. And then the last one is always linked to learning. So you probably don't remember, but I said last time, every single time they leave your presence, whether that's a home visit, whether that is an open house, whether that is a meet the teacher, whether that is a, lunch with grandmas or whatever, they have to leave smarter than when they walked in the door. It has to be worth their while. Otherwise, they will quit going, because we have all sat through trainings where we've walked out and said to the person walking out with us, well, that was a waste of my time. Or, well, that was an hour I'll never get back. Because nobody has time to just waste time. Neither do our parents. It does not have to be anything earth-shattering. It can be something as simple as, open house when you are, or meet the teacher, when you're going over your rules that you have to go over, when you're going over your routines that you need to go over. But if you've already sent that information home and you're just going to read it to me again, then there really is no reason for me to come. So think about what you're sending home and having them sign, and what you are then giving or doing at that meet the teacher or open house. But even at that, you can link it to learning. And here are a couple of things to think about. If you all as a center have an attendance goal, and I know a lot of centers, a lot of schools, will say our goal is, 98% attendance or whatever. Share that goal with your families. Share that goal, that is a site-wide goal. And then why is it important for their child to come to school? I mean, we assume that parents know, well, they're not going to learn if they don't come to school. But dig up the statistic that shows children who attend regularly do better in school. So link that to learning. So now they have that little tidbit of information that they can go and share and sound and be smart to their friends that they're talking to. Almost every center I know has a family engagement outcome that they're focusing on, either for a month or a quarter or for a whole year. Share that. Share your site-wide or program-wide goal. You can say, this year we are focusing on positive parent relationships. Why? Just because you pulled that out of a hat? No. We're focusing on that because we know that when there are positive family relationships, those protective factors are in place. They create healthy, strong families, which it develops resiliency in children, so that when they are faced with a problem, they are more apt to be able to solve it. They are more apt to stand up to peer pressure and all those things that we know having a healthy, supportive family helps support. Share that goal. And then you can say, and here's how I'm going to be doing that in my classroom, A, B, and C. Or here's how we're going to be addressing that goal as a program, A, B, and C. Now, when I leave your open house or your meet the teacher, not only do I know the rules and the routines and call the center if my kid's going to be absent, all that kind of stuff, which I probably already knew and I've probably already been doing it. Now I see the vision for the program. I see that there's a goal. Now I know why it's important for my child to come to school. I have had teachers even share in the state of Texas, some funding is based on attendance. I don't know if that's true for you guys. I have had directors stand up in front of the parent meeting and say, It's important for your child to come to school. We have a 98% goal. It's important because we know that children who attend regularly, yada, yada, yada. It is also important because we get money from the state. We don't get money from the state if your child is not here. And that money from the state helps us buy this, and this, which your child then can use and, enjoy. And so that's an important reason to bring your child, because I'm going to get, my center is going to get money from the state that my child is going to be able to enjoy. That gives them money that they can buy books with or whatever. So start linking every single thing you're doing to learning. Any questions about that before I put you guys in your breakout room for a little exercise? Any building block that you you have a question about, or is there any that you think, I don't think I do that. I don't think I have that building block in every single one of my family engagements. Anybody want to weigh in before I tell you which one is typically not included? Which one do you think it might be? There are actually two that are rarely included in every single thing that we do with our families. Anybody have a guess?
I'm guessing collaborative.
Okay, bingo, bingo, bingo. Yes, you win one of the prizes. Collaborative is one of the things, because let's face it, sometimes it's just easier to plan it ourselves. But we don't know all the barriers. We can't address all the barriers if we're not getting input from the families. I worked with a big Head Start program in Louisiana a couple of years ago, and they were saying, Teddy, we heard that if you fed them, they would come. And she said, we fed them and they didn't come. And I said, well, what did you, no offense, but what were you feeding? What were you serving? And she said, well, we were serving sandwiches and chips. And I was like, okay, I'm not a big sandwich person. And I said, I'm not sure I would get back in the car and wag my children up there for a sandwich. Sorry. And they said, but we have limited funding, we can't serve lots of things. And I said, no, I get that. I said, but what if you sent home a survey and said, out of these things, now I know that some programs cannot serve food. And this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. I said, but in Texas, it seems like whenever there's, we do a dinner or whatever, it's either pizza, nachos, spaghetti, or hot dogs. That's kind of the standard Texas school fare if you're serving dinner. I said, what if you put those things that you can afford, that you can offer, and let them rank? What, if we were to serve dinner or serve a light snack dinner, which of these, put these in order of how you would want them. And so the director was like, okay, and she emailed me a couple months later and said, oh my gosh, they are coming. And I said, well, what are you serving? I'm thinking hot dog, nachos, pizza, cold pizza, something like that. And she said, jambalaya. And I said, whoa, I didn't know jambalaya was going to be on the list. And she said, we actually put other. We had a line for other. And she said, more people wrote in jambalaya or something like that than checked anything else. And she said, and when we really started, costing it out or pricing it out, she said, we could do that about the same amount or a little bit less than we were doing the sandwiches. Because she said, by the time we were buying the cold cuts, the lettuce, the tomato, the cheese, the condiments, all of that stuff, she said we could do the jambalaya about for the same price. Now, 2 things happened. Number one, they were serving something that the parents wanted. but also they asked the parents. They didn't just assume that everybody wanted a cold hot dog. And so the other part that happens is if I have filled out a survey, if I've said I'll come if you serve jambalaya, then I'm going to be more inclined to go because I said I would come if you serve jambalaya. And so think about, even for something like that, in addition to the time or the day and the content, if you're going to serve something, you know, get their input. You might not always be able to accommodate them, but at least you're making a good faith effort and you're sending the message, we care enough about you that we want your input. All right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to put you guys in breakout rooms for just about like 5 or 6 minutes. And there are only, 4 of y'all, so, or 3, 4, I don't know. We'll just do 2 breakout rooms and they'll be little, okay? And so I'm going to give you a family engagement scenario, okay? And I want you to go down each of those building blocks, probably not built on relationships. Let's just assume that they're built on relationships. But I want you to focus on how you can make the planning of it, or not the planning of it. So how can you make it interactive? How can you make it collaborative? And then how can you link it to learning? Okay. So here is what I want you to think about, okay? Grandparents' Day. Now, don't think about hybrid and pandemic and all that. We're going to pretend that we're all in person, okay? And so I want you to think about, you are going to be having Grandparents' Day and inviting grandparents up to the building. So how can you make it interactive? How can you make it collaborative? And how can that be linked to learning so that when they leave, they know why coming to Grandparents' Day was important? All right, give me a thumbs up if you know what you're going to be talking about. Okay, all right, so I'm going to put you in breakout rooms, and I'm just going to give you about 5 minutes to, this doesn't do breakout rooms.
Teddy, I'm making you the host, so maybe try it now.
Now I can. Yay, thanks. I was like, where's breakout rooms? Okay. And remember, you have to join the breakout room. Okay, Shauna, you do not have to join unless you want to. And I'll pop in. I'll try to pop in.
If I join a breakout room, will it record that breakout room? Maybe I should, so that the recording picks that up.
I don't think it records the breakout rooms, but try it. So are you going to go to 1?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sí, a los niños. So let's look at it. Hi, Shannon. Shona, is that how to say it?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm joining your breakout room so I can record it so that when they watch the YouTube, there's a little bit of a discussion on it. So go ahead. And if you remember, it's how is it interactive? How do you make it collaborative? And how do you link it to learning?
So Anna was sharing that there was like a grandparents day at her children's school, and then she was saying that they would read to the grandparents. I think that would be linked to learning, literacy. It will be interactive, and they will be collaborating, like with the child, like paying attention to the child while they're reading to them, to the grandparents. And they will also build a relationship also with the teacher that is present in the classroom. I think that was a really cute idea to do on Grandparents' Day, to have a child reading to the grandparent.
Or the grandparents reading to the child.
Exactly. That goes either or.
And when you guys did that, did you so the collaborative piece of it, did you ask parents like when would be the best time of day for us to do this, or did you offer it multiple times and allow it a different opportunity? How did you collaborate with parents to make it a successful event?
Well, if I remember right, they invite us. They told us there was gonna be like a day for grandparents. And then I remember I took along my mother with me into the event with my children. Is that's an event that we haven't done something like this in the center, but when I'm connecting it with my experience, and so then I just bring my mom with me, and she was excited to get to know my son's classroom and teacher, and then they have different books available, and then we were able to take the book home to read it too. So that's pretty much what I remember they did. So they have a specific day that and say, hey, this week it's gonna be Grandparents' Day, bring your grandparents, and that's it.
So I'm just going to propose this to both of you. If you were in charge of organizing a grandparents' day at your facilities, how would you collaborate with families for this success?
The collaboration part is the one that gets you a hard one, right? What do you think, Abby?
Abby, you're on mute.
Oh yeah, she's right next to me.
Yeah, I can hear her through yours. I can hear her through yours.
Okay, so I would encourage them. I would even like say like they're gonna have like a one-on-one with their grandkids. Like we would provide materials. They only have to come. I don't know. That's a good question.
So like, if you want the best participation you can get, I think one thing you would want to do is ask the parents is what time of day would your child's grandparent be able to participate? So then you can have a good turnout. Because if you scheduled in the morning, but half the parents say, well, their grandparents can't come in the morning, then it's not a successful event, right? And then you have some kids who feel left out because they didn't have an opportunity, or even just
I'm kind of like I mentioned, like this week or during the day, yes, a grandparent day, you can bring up and during the day and have it just a section so they can come in and enjoy whenever they come to pick up their grandchildren. Is that what you mean with collaboration?
Yeah. And then I think I love the book reading thing. And then if you can talk about why literacy is so important at a young age, why exposing children for a love of books can help with their learning when they're even beyond just learning to read, but language is so important in so many different aspects. So that part of it too. So when they leave knowing more, they know why reading to kids is so important, right?
Yep.
Good job. Anything else you want to add?
No.
Have you guys done, I know with COVID it's hard, but have you done any family engagement in-person events yet this year?
We're about to do one next week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We're
Yes,
Right,
excited.
we're-
good luck.
Yes, thank you.
Hopefully.
So many times, and I'm always, I can argue both sides all day long about, well, but what about the children that don't have grandparents? But you can always phrase it where it can be grandparent or special friend or, whatever, so that they can bring, whomever. Okay. So I don't know, Shauna, about y'all's room, but room 2 was really, they had some great ideas. So we'll let y'all go first. So who wants to kind of report back from room 1?
You want to do it?
I know I didn't tell y'all someone was going to have to report back. So
It's like, you want to do it? No, we're just talking about my experience when my kids were they were going to Head Start. They have a grandparent day,
Mhm.
and they have a section of books, and the parents were able, the grandparents. I remember I took my mom, so she was able to see my son's classroom, and I get to know. He was explaining her. How his little school, and then they have a time of reading, and then they were able to take that book home so they can read it with a grandma later or another time. And so it was, but in my case, I remember it was like a whole day thing. You were able to take your anytime you have time. But it was usually in the evening that I was out of work picking up my mom so they
Mhm.
can spend time. So I
So
think
wait a
that
minute,
was,
so grandparents could come anytime during the day?
yes, I remember that because they
What a
have a
way to
table.
value their time. Wow. Wow. That's really cool. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just
No,
want to make
no, you're
sure that
good.
I heard that right. So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
good, good. All right. Anything else from room one that you guys want to share from your discussion?
We were also mentioning how important it is for little kids to be exposed to literature. Like, because
Mhm.
she was saying that either the grandparent will read to the child or even the kid could read to the child. And I think it's important because it would stimulate their imagination, their development of their language. And that's how we link it with learning experience.
Mhm, mhm. Good, good. All right, good. What about room two? They had some good discussion too. Who wants to share? Do y'all want to kind of tag team, Lois and Amanda?
We could tag team or whatever. So we both said we never had a grandparents' day at our centers. So we had nothing to really draw on. So we were kind of coming up with creating a day. So we did talk about that. We thought, I've noticed this in my mom that grandparents like to watch their grandchildren, like to see them learn, like to see them do things. So we did talk about coming up with a activity that was child-led, so that grandparents could kind of be involved in maybe a craft or some other activity that didn't have a strict structure. And then we also talked about maybe having the children show grandparents part of their routine. So like a song they've learned, or maybe some activity they've learned to do at school. We did talk about how important grandparents are in the family, that a lot of times when we think about reaching out to family, we reach out to that nuclear family, the one we think of, mom, dad, siblings, kind of things like that. But that children and families are supported by grandparents. A lot of grandparents pick up. And so we thought that there are grandparents who are regularly in our building, and that we could use input from them to help build an activity when it comes to being collaborative with grandparents, like specifically search out certain ones, just ask them for this one activity for Grandparents' Day, would you like to be involved? And we talked about, when it comes to developmental, like there's some things that maybe grandparents don't realize their children could do, and being in the school more often would allow them to see those things and see how they're growing. And really maybe even, this is like supporting the support system that supports the family.
Mhm, mhm. Good. Amanda, you want to add anything? Did she?
I think you did a really great review of what we talked about. So I don't really have anything to add.
Good. Well, I think y'all need to pat yourselves on the back. Those are great ideas. I love those ideas. One thing that I want to really encourage you guys to think about, because the way you were linking it to learning was excellent. I want to also challenge you, especially on something where it's maybe not as obvious as to linking to learning, like, grandparents just come and eat lunch. Okay, what's the point? How's that linked to learning? Think about the social and emotional skills that are supported when a parent or a grandparent is coming, and they're strengthening that relationship. or they're just having a conversation. And so they're developing that discourse, that taking turns and listening and speaking and all of that kind of stuff. So think about when you're linking it to learning, it always doesn't have to be to an academic piece, because I think we do that exceptionally well. But think about, okay, what is the learning as far as social and emotional go? Because you guys know probably this year better than any other year, that is critically just as important this year, if not more so. So try to broaden that linking to learning, but you guys did an awesome job. I love the way that you guys, those ideas that you came up with. So before I give you your little teeny tiny piece of homework, it's not, it's not like, an essay or anything. Does anybody have any questions or comments or ahas or something that you're going to take back and share with someone that you work with because you thought, oh, wow, I didn't ever think about that. Anybody want to share?
I missed the first meeting, so this has been really fascinating for me to be in with you guys and try to catch up. I really like the idea of that I hadn't put much thought into, is that we have events that parents have to come, and I have parents who they're on their 4th child here at Educare. So if this is not their first rodeo, what do we have to make this a worthwhile event besides your child gets in?
Exactly.
Like there should be more. So I like that idea. I actually plan to bring that back to our family engagement meeting we're having tomorrow.
Super.
We have things we should be planning as the years are coming.
Right.
So
right.
I would like to bring that up with my supervisor.
Good, because I don't know if I shared last time when you weren't here last time anyway, but my husband always had to go to meet the teacher night because I was always doing my own meet the teacher. And as I would leave in the morning, I would say, have fun at meet the teacher. I'll see you about 9. And we had 3 children. So the 3rd year or 4th year, I said, see you at meet the teacher. Ha ha, have fun.
Yeah.
And he said, wait, why am I going? And I was like, it's meet the teacher. And he said, I know that. Why am I going? And I was like, are you dense? I said, it's meet the teacher. So I thought if I said it slower, he would get it. And he said, I know what it is, Teddy. I've met these teachers. And they're going to tell me to call this school before 10 to tell them if they're going to be absent. I've been doing that for years. They're going to tell me to send money in an envelope with what it's for, although now you just put it in their account. He said, I've been doing that for years. They're going to tell me if this, whatever, they're going to read to me the packet that they sent home that we both had to sign and send back already. So my question again, Teddy, is why am I going? And I had nothing. So I said, not proud of it, I said, you're going because we're the Fullenwiders and I want them to think that we're a really engaged family. And they're going to get a 100 if their parent comes. So it had nothing to do. Now, had he gone and had just some little tidbit, some little piece of learning, it would have been worth his while. And so especially those repeat parents, we've got to figure out a way to let them help present on some of those things, which their 3rd or 4th year to, attend. Let them be part of the team that is presenting the content from the parent perspective. Not only are you engaging them, but you're sending the message, look, we're partners with our parents. So good. All right. So for next time, what I want you to do is I want you to think about an upcoming event or engagement thing that you're doing at your school. And I want you to think about it in terms of, I'm sure it is built on relationships. That's just a given. I'm sure it's developmental, but is it developmental if you've got repeat parents and things like that? But I want you again to focus on your specific thing. And is it linked to learning? Is it interactive? And is it collaborative? Okay. Don't stress over it. You don't have to write it down. You don't have to do it in a PowerPoint. You have to do any of that stuff. Just put some thought to it, like when you're in the shower, so that we can share when we come back next week. Okay, got it? All right. So I think you ought to pat yourselves on the back, because you guys, I'm just so impressed with your level of conversation and your contribution. And if any of you all do decide to do a grandparents' day, take pictures and send them to me. So Shauna, do you have anything to add?
I have two things. If you guys want to do the survey for today's training right away, there is a link in there and you can do it. If not, I'm also going to send you an email with it. Just heads up, because we do want to track like how we're doing. Is this good information for you or not? So that we can make sure that we're fulfilling your needs too down the road as well. Second, Lois, I need you to give me your mailing address and your t-shirt size, because everybody today is getting a Ready Rosie t-shirt and I want to send them out.
Oprah. That's like
Yeah,
Oprah.
so I got everybody else's information, but if Lois, if you can drop that in a chat, private chat to me, that would be great. Or you can email it to me too. I know you have my email. So either way. All right, I got it. Lastly, so we are actually not meeting next week because it is the holiday week and we know everybody's busy. So December 1st, which is a Wednesday from 12:30 to 1:30 is our next session. We will also make sure that we get this recording out on YouTube and send it out. So share with your coworkers, encourage them to watch both the first and second one. And if they can join us on the third one, that'd be great. Any questions from you guys as far as Ready Rosie goes in your programs? All right, we are going to end right on time. Thank you all. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Have a
Happy
good
Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye-bye.
Yes, y'all get some rest.
Thank you.